Mr. Vettas, why do you think that the Greek economy cannot start over, like it happened with the Irish economy, with the economy in Spain? Although they had twice elections, maybe they will have a third time. It happened in Portugal. Why Greece has so many problems?
A number of reasons. First of all, in the design of the programs, there were deficiencies of all sorts. Secondly, and a little bit more importantly, there was a complete lack of willingness of the country in general to change, and ownership, as they say, of the reform programs. So the country appeared ready enough to become poorer, but not ready enough to become better in terms of political support. But at a deeper level, it is also true that the structural issues that one had to deal with about the Greek economy were deeper than those for Ireland, for instance, or for Spain. Although it is true that there were problems in all of the European periphery having to do with asymmetries that the introduction of the euro actually intensified. So I think what is very instructive is to see that after 2000, what happened in the Greek economy. And we had a very positive development, a very positive shock, which was that the cost of capital came down very significantly, whereas we were considered to be a very risky country for investors. All of a sudden they thought that we were more or less like Germans, right? So not very risky. So they gave us money. The question is what happened with the money. And unfortunately, although in retrospect maybe not surprisingly, the money went rather than help improve the structure of the economy, it in some sense made it even more introvert, made the dependence on the state even stronger, and so on and so forth. So it is true that there was an inflow of money and the strong currency worsened the relative position of all the countries in the European periphery, but for us, most of the money came through the public sector, directly and indirectly. So it didn't make extroverts, exporting, innovative companies stronger. It made companies that were dependent on the state stronger.
So you believe that we should have more reforms, but we see that we do not go forward with making these reforms happen, with planning these reforms.
Yes, but there is no need to go to levels like these. First of all, I'm not sure I would agree with the statement that no reforms have been made. I guess this is an exaggeration. There have been reforms in various areas. Whether we like it or not, the reforms in the labor market have helped, and they were important, they were overdue. Likewise, having, for instance, electronic prescriptions in the healthcare market for pharmaceuticals, and so on and so forth. But I agree, there are still a lot of reforms that encountered a lot of resistance, and they have not been done, and this is actually something not that we should be proud about. But at the same time, where we are now, we have to restore the credibility of economic policy, one would say. Basically, the predominant factor since 2009, 2010, that we entered in the famous memorandum, was that nobody really knew how the next year is going to be, other than all of a sudden we realized that next year is most probably going to be worse than the year before. And so there wasn't much of credibility in the formation of expectations. And there wasn't, I would dare to say, also credible leadership in all this. And of course, this means that this type of asymmetry that I mentioned before, like households and businesses that were behaving in a way that was helping the economy, actually did not get promoted, but instead the ones that were promoted were the ones that were holding us back. An example of this is that instead of fighting tax evasion, we actually resorted to increasing tax rates, and it is probably a case of taxing again the same individuals.
If someone told you that you could do one thing to have the Greek economy start over, what is the one thing that you would do immediately for achieving that?
There isn't one thing an economist would do, because in the end of the day, it is politics. And you need to have enough of social consensus and support for change, and politically a strong enough coalition, I would dare to say, that necessarily would have to signal to foreign investors that this is a safe bet. This is a country that has a lot of comparative advantages. It has learned from its lessons. It understands that it can only grow unless it really attracts foreign capital, foreign ideas, new technology, and it is open for business. And this is not something impossible to be done. I'm not going to say whether it will be done or not. This remains to be seen, but it is not impossible to be done.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.